Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Longside podcast. It's been a week. I just want to say thank you for your support on the channel. I've been away for a week because I've been on dad duty, and that is why there's been no podcast in between the Huddersfield and Fleetwood game. And we're going to go and cover the Fleetwood game, go into the game coming up against Blackpool tomorrow, and going into some news that's happened along the way. Starting off with some big news today, which will be quite interesting, is the 4 games that has been rescheduled for Sky Sports Burnley. That's a new name now because we've got 4 games being rescheduled, one being Sunderland at home for a Friday, and not the only one because Borough away is again on a Friday. So 31st of March for Sunderland and 7th of April for Borough. Sheffield United at home on a Monday. And of course, Blackburn on Tuesday. So if you have got a job that involves you working midweek on Fridays or Mondays or Tuesdays, good luck. It's kind of a shame because I have already seen some people say that they can't make it to the games anymore, which is a real shame. And I guess there's a bit of a good part of it, I guess, when it comes to the Blackburn game, because there's a potential either Guard of Honour opportunity, which we know they're not going to do, or maybe even a title decider, or if not any of that, it'd be a great party nonetheless, and maybe could even dent their playoff hopes. So we've got some great people on the way here, and let's get them stuck in, which is, of course, Sam from the Clarets Roundup. How you doing, my friend?
I'm not bad, mate. Are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Just to also highlight, I'm wearing a cap and so is he, because both our trims are unbelievably dead. And I want to kind of carry that Vincent Company aura, so to say. And the GOAT of Burnley podcasting. How you doing, my friend Joe from Turfcast Podcast? How you doing, lad?
What an intro, mate. There's only one GOAT in here, mate, and it's you. But thank you very much. I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, as good as you could be being a Burnley fan in this day and age, hence why we should absolutely enjoy it. Let's start off with the news in terms of the rearranged fixtures, all 4 of them, Sky Sports Burnley. I mean, it's quite frustrating if you cannot go to games due to this, but I guess it's one benefit that happens, or one thing that does happen when you're just that good. Speaking about the Blackburn game, I'll go to you first, Joe. What's your kind of thoughts on it? Because I think you were speaking before about potentially it's going to be rearranged and what time it may be. Are you happy as it'd be like the 3rd to last game of the season?
No, not really. I'd prefer it to have been when it was meant to be. But like you said, it's because we're doing so well that it's been chosen for TV. It would have been anyway. And the fact that, we're both in the FA Cup quarterfinal, so it just had to be moved. But I don't know. I think like you were saying earlier, I think a lot of fans will miss out on it, which is a shame. I mean, I'm quite lucky in the fact that I do live close. Well, I live in Burnley, so I live close to the turf, and I'm self-employed, so I can just do whatever I want with work, really, give or take. So I'll be able to get on it. But obviously, I know I saw Neil Layfield, who's quite big on the Burnley socials. Obviously, sometimes comes on my podcast. I think he's been on both of yours at some point.
Good luck.
Yeah, really good lad. But he lives up in Sunderland, and obviously Sam, yourself, you live in Leeds, so it's difficult for some fans to get over, especially for these Easter Monday ones and stuff like that, when you potentially have to work and things like that. I would have preferred it to be on a Sunday at 12, to be honest. But yeah, I know you mentioned there that the Guard of Honour, it's just not going to happen, is it? We all know it ain't going to happen. So there is that side of it, like, oh, we might get one. And it will still be funny if they don't give us one, because we're like, no, we're not going to give you one. That will still be quite funny. But I would have preferred to have been earlier in the season. Because my worry is, and I know a lot of people say a company won't let it happen, but I just think naturally, you naturally do it, is we will already be up by then. We will probably have won the league by then. We might win the league at Ewood. That would be beautiful. But we probably would have already won the league by then. And I'm just a little bit worried that they might take their foot off the gas a little bit, with Blackburn still maybe needing 2 wins to get in the playoffs. So yeah, I'd have preferred it to have been when it originally was, really. So I think we'd have beat them. I still think we'll beat them, because I think we're better than them. And you look at it, when you look at even with their upturning form. But yeah, I think I would have preferred it to have been when it originally was, to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of follow the same feeling, really. Sam, of course, as it's a Tuesday night, how bad do you feel for the Lancashire Police Force for that night?
Oh, it's going to be horrible, isn't it? Really, I mean, it's not exactly the greatest of days to put it on. So I agree with Joe. I think a Sunday would have been perfect. I think, I feel like it deserves that occasion of a Sunday early kickoff. Like Tuesday, I feel like it's an evening kickoff now, isn't it? I'm guessing. It will be, won't
Yeah,
it?
7:45
Yes, it
it'll
is
be, won't
8
it, or 8?
o'clock.
Is it 8
Yeah.
o'clock? So do you know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like, and for me, obviously, ever so slightly biased, but for me, it's the derby that I care about the most. Like, you know, I'd
I
rather
think
see
all Burnley fans will say the same, won't they? I would hope so.
that's what I mean. But like, you know, I feel like it's been pushed away onto a Tuesday night, and we're just, you know, it's almost like, oh, you know, Burnley Blackburn's on, not for us, but for everybody else. Whereas Sunday, it gets that proper occasion that it deserves, and yeah, a bit disappointed, but still going to do my very best to get a ticket. So we'll see.
Yeah, the ticket wise, I think it should be hopefully okay. Because it's quite a big allocation, you'd imagine. Like, I think it's 5-6K. So we'll hope it'd be some atmosphere though, because by then, no matter what happens, if it's we may win a title that day, if we already have, be a massive potty atmosphere. And if not, again, potty atmosphere, and hopefully it could be a big game to hopefully damage Blackburn's potential playoff hopes. I thought they would have completely fallen off by now because they are god awful, but somehow they keep on staying there and clinging on. I have no idea how they do it, but we move on into the kind of injury updates in terms of Benson and Jay. Still on verge of coming back into the squad. Maatson, of course, is shoulder injury against Huddersfield. Turns out that it should be quite short term, and I believe he actually could be in contention for this weekend, but I doubt that he'll be in on the squad at all. And also Anas Saruri, who came off with a bit of a kick against Fleetwood, but I think he should be potentially up for the game for tomorrow. In terms of and of course, there's also the likes of Howard Bellis. We saw some injuries come back in Dervizoglu and also Chilinov. So out of those players that I just spoke of, which one are you kind of more focusing on in terms of bringing back, or which players you've kind of seen come back and kind of been impressed by?
I think we'll miss Anas the most. He offers quite a lot. He's brilliant as an ass. Martson as well. I think we'll miss him if both of them two are out. I think I won't say we'll struggle, but I think we'll notice a difference. But it's good to see Dervizoglu come back and get some minutes against Fleetwood. That fills me with a little bit more confidence. But we've been fine. You know, with these injuries have been piling up for a few months now. Obviously, here with Bellis and Benson and Jay, obviously they've all been out for about a couple of months now. So we've been fine without them, and I do think we'll continue to be fine. When you look at the players that could come in, Charlie Taylor at left back, as good as he is and as experienced he is, it doesn't offer as much going forward as Martson does, but he does a job. Or of course, he could play Vitinho. There's obviously that route as well. So we'll see, but I think we'll be fine. Even if all of them are out that you've just named, I do think we'll be fine. And I mean this in the nicest possible way to the likes of Blackpool and Wigan. But it's a good job that we're playing Blackpool and Wigan in these next two games with the amount of injuries that we have, and not Sheffield United and Middlesbrough, for example. But they've come at the right time, if that's possible.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it, actually, that if there's going to be a time to have these kind of knocks, now it's a good one. I was actually speaking to a Blackpool fan of mine, a friend of mine who's a Blackpool fan, and he said that he's expecting 6-7 past them tomorrow. He's got absolutely no hope. Form-wise, I think they've won, once in the last 17 games in the league, I believe. Something, maybe 2 in 17. It's something really bad with Mick McCarthy. It's not really working out over there. Sam, let's go into kind of injury-wise. Who would you want to see back the most?
Benson and Zareri are obviously the two main ones. You know, they're two of the most attacking players we've had at the club for God knows how long. Like, they've literally made me fall back in love with a Burnley winger. Like, it's just so brilliant to watch them play now. They literally get the ball, beat the man, left and right, whichever way they want to go. They absolutely turn defenders inside out. So they'll be a big miss if we don't get him. And I do agree with Joe as well. Maatson will be absolutely devastating to not have him there, because what he offers going forward is extra width, and we always seem to, on that left-hand side, get a man over with him and Anas. And once he's received the ball, gives it to Anas, and he gives Anas that 1v1. Charlie isn't as progressive with the ball, and I don't think he thinks forward thinking as much as Maatson does. So that could be an area which I'd rather have Maatson, but I do still think Charlie will do a decent job. And I mean, Taylor Howard Bellis was, before his injury, easily the best centre half that we had, and now, there is a conversation there where does he get straight back in? I personally don't think he gets straight back in. He's a very, very, very good player. But, you know, Ekdal and Bayer have been incredible. And then Al Dakil's filled in well for him. I feel like it would be a gradual process for him to come back. And when he does.
It's insane to think about, isn't it? It truly is. And we sort of like to Taylor, I guess, Fleetwood as well. And seeing Taylor play as a left back, it kind of shows that even though a player, I still think is a Premier League standard player, you can see how the role that they play is so important that Taylor in our team, I don't think works in a left back role in comparison to Martin. And let's go into Fleetwood. Joe, when it hit the 88th minute and we were still 0-0 against a team with 10 men in the League One, did you have any squeaky bum time at all?
It's one of them, innit? You'd think with the amount of times that we've done that and we've scored late goals that you'd have full confidence in the team. You'd be sat there nice, cool, calm and collected thinking, we're definitely going to score. But obviously I wasn't. And it goes through your head then, does it? It starts going through your head like, do we really need extra time? I can't really be bothered with this. Or hopefully, you know, maybe we'd score quickly so we're not knackered for Saturday, because Saturday's big. We need to win on Saturday and keep this run going. But we should just trust them. Maybe they're just toying with teams sometimes. I don't know. How many times did it happen now? I saw a tweet from a Nottingham Forest fan, of all people, that I've no interaction with at all, saying, I'm sick of these. Why do they keep doing this? I'm like, see, everyone else feels like that, so we should. And I remember after the Rotherham game, actually, I saw a Blackburn fan tweet, like, what's the rule now? Play until Burnley win. So opposition fans are getting to this stage where they're expecting us to score late on if we're not winning. Obviously Watford as well is a recent one. So yeah, we probably should start having confidence in the lads that when it is the 89th minute and it's 0-0, that we are gonna keep pushing and hopefully, you know, I'm gonna say get some luck, but you create your own luck. When you look at them stats and you look at the territory as well, we'd literally pinned them in for the last 15 minutes. It's gonna go in at some point when you've got a
last
team
15. I want to say the last 90 at that stage.
Yeah,
come on, lads.
They set up, didn't they? A flat back 9. And then a man got sent off, and then it were a flat back 8. Like, they didn't change anything, just had a man missing, but it was still that 2 banks of 4 and a guy. But yeah, it's something that we should be proud of, and obviously something that we should probably start trusting the lads with. But yeah, great to see the goal go in. Just a little bit deflating when we got the cup draw, weren't it?
Yeah, and we'll get into that very soon. On Wednesday night, we also saw our new January signings in Lyle Foster and Obafemi, I believe, get both their first starts. Actually, well, Obafemi, his first start, I believe, and Lyle Foster his second start after his cup game against Ipswich as well. A lot has been said about Foster, Sam, on social media in terms of his performance and kind of maybe how we see him in our team. What do you make of Foster?
I mean, in the nicest possible way, because I back every Burnley player until they eventually find the exit door. There is worrying signs there with him. You don't see that same, the initial first, even before getting to the opportunities that he missed, the initial first touches, the way that he can link up plays, hold up play, things like that just seem missing. My dad, we were watching game, and Foster had got the ball in those attacking positions, where we'll get a ball and flick it round the corner, and then we're hitting the byline. He went to go do that, and the ball flicked up his shin, hit him in the face, and went the other way. And he had to chase the ball. He had to chase back to win the ball back in his own half. And the commentator was like, "Oh, it's brilliant working back." And me and my dad were sat there saying, "Okay, yeah, but he's the reason why it happened." The chances that he missed were poor. It has to be said that they're poor. The goal that Obafemi scored against Watford, he should have scored. There's also, there was a lack of, because of how good the performance it kind of felt, and the fact that we just equalised with like the last kick of the game, it felt like it was, one of those situations you could be like, okay, we've scored. Now we can reflect back after he's done what he did against Fleetwood and say, he literally headed the ball at the post and he had so much goal to aim at, and he's missed from about 3 yards. This is now the second time a striker in front of goal is looking like he's a little bit short of confidence, and like a player for me that I said it to you, Joe, when we were on your pod. All the other players that we've signed, you could say 4 million, 3 million, all this type of money. £7 million for a striker. I know you pay a premium for a striker, but when you pay 7 million and the fee could rise to 10, that's a lot of money to pay for a player that isn't performing instantly. For that money, you would like somebody to hit the ground running. But yeah, that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of debate online, and of course, because of the success rate that company has had with his signings, I guess it makes him stand out even more so because we've had so much success with players coming in and maybe not instantly bedding in like some have with Ekdal, but others took a bit of time. Like I believe the likes of Benson did the same thing, and even Zaroui to an extent as well, that they took some time to bed in. And I guess at the end of the day, if we're going to be serious here or like just kind of just be very straight to the point, it's like he's been here for a month. I want to try and give him that benefit of the doubt. I do believe that, I mean, I think that he's getting into the right areas for me. He's doing all sort of right things. He's in the right kind of areas, but I think it's just, yeah, there's been times that he's inconsistent in terms of his first touch. The ball's just not sticking to him. At times it does, and it works, and he does well. Sometimes it doesn't. And I again, when he's going through on goal in like the 15th minute, that he did some great work to steal the ball, went through on goal. He had 40 yards of space to went into, and to try to chip the goalkeeper. I get why he's doing that, but maybe it's a case of that first goal kick him on. And I think because of the fact that company has had such a good success rate, that we kind of are expecting him to kick on eventually, thinking that he should because company got him. So why wouldn't he? So I'm still clinging on to hope that company, because I think I see the right areas, the right movements of him. It's just not clicking right now. So I want to give him still a bit of time. But totally. I get why people are a bit concerned. Joe, what's your take on it?
I think Sam makes a good point there in terms of the transfer fee. I think a lot of it's being exaggerated because of the transfer fee. I think if it was the 3 million we paid for the other lads, or the 4 million or whatever, people wouldn't be getting as impatient with him. I think that's what's happening. People are just getting impatient. Everyone is expecting him to hit the ground running. But you got to remember how difficult it is to join a team in January. Not to bring out all the old cliches and stuff, but I can imagine it's very difficult to join a team in January, even when they are doing well, when they have a certain way of playing. It's come from a different country, never played in this league before, never played in this country before. He's got to get used to a new system, a new manager, and a new climate, a new culture. It's going to take time. You both as well mentioned the one where he went through on goal. I think that one is obvious when you look at how he's tried to chip the goalkeeper, when even though it probably is the right, well, it's not the right idea because it didn't go in, but even though you can see why he's trying to do that, I think that's a player that's clearly overthinking. When you look at him, he's obviously thought straight away as soon as he's gone through on goal, I need to score this, I'm through on goal, I'll chip it, I like chipping it. And I think he's committed to the chip really early because he's overthinking. Then the keeper's not gone down as he'd expected him to, and he's just chipped it anyway. The one that worried me was the one where he went through on goal in the second half and then didn't shoot and then passed it. That was a sign of a player that, to me, was low on confidence. I've seen against Ipswich, I did think he's a little bit poor, this guy, but I'm going to give him time. Against Fleetwood, I felt the same. There was the touch that Sam mentioned that I do remember that. But against Huddersfield, I thought he did well when he came on. His movement was good. And I remember thinking, maybe he's getting used to the system now. But then I felt like it was another step back against Fleetwood. But I echo what you say, Liam. It's been a month. I think some of the stuff that's been written so far on social media about him is not short of a disgrace. There's a lot of people just already writing him off. People are fair to have concerns. Like I'm always up for debates if people have concerns, but people already writing him off and stuff. Like you say, he's been here a month. He's got to have time to get used to the system, get used to the way we play, get used to a new league. And I believe a lot of the backroom staff are quite. They're expecting big things from him. But as well there, as the comment says, we have 4 other number 9s. Like, look how poor Barnsley was in the earlier part of the season. And he's a player that's been playing in this country for ages, years, all his career. And Foster's come here now, and he's got to get used to it as well. I do think it'll be a similar thing to Barnes, I think. I think eventually, once he gets that goal, like Barnes did against Blackburn, he'll then start getting a bit of confidence and he'll slot into the team. But I just think we need to be patient, honestly. A bit of patience, and I think he'll come good eventually.
Yeah, I like to think so too. I mean, the one thing I may say is that with our system, our strikers aren't really a striker that most are used to playing.
Yeah.
Most usually play on transition and a counter attack, and have a lot of space to run into. We're the opposite. We're much more into intricate style of play, much more dropping deep and linking up with other players. Our goals are spread apart and not really from a striker that most teams typically are. So I do believe that will take time to kind of bed in. And as you said, Ashley Barnes took him, everyone with him off, and I guess to an extent was kind of justified, in like October time against like Sunderland away against Ashley Barnes, thinking, yeah, it's just not going to work out. So I think that I've seen the right traits of him. I think confidence could be a big part of it because, as you said, that second half chance that he went through on goal, he did everything right. He stayed on side, did a perfect kind of U run. He shouldered off the defender to get to the ball, through on goal, and I don't know why he just doesn't smash it. Maybe again he's overthinking, trying to kind of just play it not safe, but maybe he thinks that's the right thing to do. Again, I'm seeing the right things. It's just hopefully will just take some time for it to happen. Bit of a Fleetwood recap in terms of play performances. Who was your man of the match?
I thought Cherlinov did well when he came on. Yeah, I'll probably go with Cherlinov. I thought he did quite well when he came on. I thought Vitinho played well. Although I've seen him getting some comments on social media, really. But I thought he played okay.
Vitinho did.
Yeah, Vitinho got some, only a couple, got some negative comments. And obviously you could probably make a case for Connor as well. He's been brilliant since the World Cup. I know we've all had that debate several times now on several different channels. But I thought he played well again. And obviously he got the goal. But I was impressed with Cherlinov. I'll go with Cherlinov simply because I felt like sometimes he's another one. Sometimes, as someone mentioned in the comments just then, like he's sometimes come on and he's looked a little bit rusty and a little bit like, oh, is he really that good? But he came on the other day and I think he helped change it, as did Obafemi. So yeah, and Teller as well. So yeah, I'd go for Cherlinov.
Yes, Cherlinov, he looked sharp against Fleetwood. He looked like a player that I expected to see, and it's kind of harsh on him because when you compare him to Zaruri, when you compare him to Benson in terms of
that's a problem,
exciting winger aspect, that kind of threat. When you compare them, you think Cherlinov is just like, okay, he's all right, but he's nowhere near as good as Zaruri. But he looked much more direct and threatening when he came on, which was good to see. Who was your man of the match? Or kind of I played it in a highlight, Sam.
I would also have said Cherlinov. I think even from a personal perspective, I've seen other people say what they want to say online. From a personal perspective, I remember when he came on at Wigan, and I thought I think that was his first performance where he came on, and I thought he came on and he showed a lot of good stuff. And then after that, I struggled to find a lot of positives in his performances. I thought he was a lot more erratic than I remember him being. I remember him having a bit of a,
West Brom away was one that a lot of people look back on.
Yeah, I just think it's his first touchability, and then his first touch and what he does next, because I think he brings the ball down perfectly every time he gets the ball, but then it's his decision making. Does he go on the outside? Does he go on the inside? Does he play the ball? Against Fleetwood, he was almost flawless. I thought he was really, really, really good, and almost the player that we thought he was going to be. The one thing that I'd like to say about all of the wingers is they are all totally different. Every single thing about them is different. Zaruri is different to Benson, regardless whether or not you think they have a similar style, with regards to they're both pacey, they're both technical. They both do things differently. Benson likes to do little touches just to ease his defender in, and then as soon as he sees you bite, he's gone straight past you. Whereas Zaruri has this silky ability to just kind of like almost like he can't be arsed because he knows he's going to take you on, just kind of go, oh, and he puts it past you, and defenders just like, oh, like it like.
I love that.
Then you've got Goodmanson, who is one of the most technical players I think the club's ever seen with his left foot. His ability to put the ball into the box and play the ball through the lines. And I know he's dropping almost into that 10 position, but that's kind of, where we know him from. Then obviously you've got Teller, who's just pure pace, and he can interchange around that entire front four, front five. And as soon as you go into all of them, you need to realise that as soon as Cherlinov comes in, you're not going to see the same things that Benson and Zaruri and Teller do. he is a more technical player. And I think in that game against Fleetwood, everything about him was almost perfect. So yeah, go Cherlinov.
Happy days. I'd love to see some love for Cherlinov. So 90 minute went, won the game, 1-0. Happy days. Let's go, boys. Burnley. What is it, 20 years, 19 years since the last time we win a quarter-final of the FA Cup? Last time against Watford, I believe. I forgot what year. What year was it, Joe? You should know. Was it 04?
I think it was 03, I think.
03. So 2 decades.
I think it was 20. Yeah.
Buzzing. Sarah. We're going to Wembley. Let's go, boys. Who's in the draw? Fulham. Buzzing. Grimsby. Let's go. Have that. Bastards. Let's go. Sheffield United. Okay. City. Joe, I want you to go back to Wednesday night, and I want you to reenact your exact reaction when you heard the fact that we faced City away at the Etihad.
I couldn't believe it. I just got back. I were in here, sat in this very seat, put it on my computer there, and Mrs. stands at door and she's like, "What are you doing?" Like, "I'll just cut draw. We're in it." Oh, I'm like, "Oh yeah, Blackburn are in it," and she works in Blackburn. She's like, "Oh, are we playing Blackburn in Cup? We're playing Blackburn in Cup." Like, "No, we could do, though. We could do." And I explained how the game's been called off, and then we could then play them on the same day anyway, and playing 3 times a season. And then she's like, "All right, well, tell me who they get." And she wandered off, and it come out, and then Man City came out first. And I said, "Get in. It's not, we're not going to get City. They come out first. We'll play number 8." And I literally just went, "Oh no! What's up? What's up?" Like, Man City. I couldn't believe it. Like, Man City again. And I don't know if you've seen the video that somebody shared on Twitter that I retweeted on the podcast page of the people in hospitality watching it.
Yeah.
It's honestly the entire fan base. And then I started whinging on Twitter saying that, "Oh, I was buzzing, now I'm gutted." And people are like, "Get a grip. It's it's a good test to see where we're at." And we're never going to be at that level. So yeah, we might go down to a battling defeat. You know what I mean? That's the best we can probably hope for. A battling defeat. Maybe score a goal, 2 goals at City, and lose 4-2 in a heroic way. That's not what I want. I don't want to test myself. I tested myself against Man United in the Carabao Cup. You know what I mean? I don't want to test myself again against Man City. I wanted to play Grimsby at Grimsby and have a proper day out, proper away day, proper FA Cup quarter-final, get to the semis, and then if there's a heroic defeat, do it at Wembley, because, when we're giving a good account of ourselves and had a day out and 30,000, 40,000 Burnley fans, whatever, again, just like it was in 2009. I don't want to test myself. I wanted to have a cup run. I wanted to get to Wembley, but yeah, gutted. But yeah, I'll still be going, just like I did in 2003.
I love it. It's like, anyway, so I'm still going.
Fuming, but going.
I saw some people say that as well, like, "Oh, come on, we can take them on." It's like, have you forgot the fact we've lost 5-0 to them four times in a row? This isn't just 5-0 like 2 times. So, I mean, it's 4 times in a row. Now, I understand they were different teams. It's a Sean Dyche team, different players, different everything. But Jesus Christ, man. I would have been, if he was at home, I would have been still a bit happier. Yeah. Like, okay, at home, different. I take it. I think we actually get knocked. I think got knocked out by them in the cup in the Carabao. I think at home last year as well, didn't we? Like, I hate City so much.
It's every year, isn't it? It's every year. Like the one year where you think, "Oh, we don't have to play City this year," and then you get Haaland, you think, "Oh, well, at least we don't have to play Haaland this year." Turns out we do.
Sam, I want you to reenact your reaction when you found out we were facing City as well.
Oh, just honestly, mate, I literally turned everything off and just fucking sat here like this. I just couldn't believe it. I literally could not believe our hard luck. Like, we play them every year. We play them in the 4th round, the 3rd round, whatever round they possibly we can play City in. We play them in. I'm surprised we've not played them twice in the Premier League this season still. Like, ridiculous how many times we play City, and all the I love the enthusiasm. I love it. Every single Burnley fan that thinks it's possible that we beat them, I love it. It's amazing. Carry on thinking it. I don't agree. I was miserable, absolutely miserable. They are a brilliant team. I know they're not playing as well as they normally do, and I know we're playing out of his skin at the minute, but it is still Man City. He's going to put out a great team. Oh, honestly, absolutely. Like you say, Grimsby. I'd have took bastards anywhere. I'd have played them. I'd have played them down a park in Leeds. Anywhere. Just play somebody like Blackburn. Why are we playing Man City? It's ridiculous.
It's so sad. It's so sad because as Burnley fans, we're so used to having such poor performances in the cups under Sean Dyche for a decade. Nothing to show up other than a fifth round in FA Cup, which of course we all know what happened that day against Lincoln. Jesus Christ, man. So we thought finally, new era in the cup, a cup run, fantastic. And then it's City, and it's like, come on, man. You know, it's so annoying. Blood Crusade saying, if you can't face City in quarterfinals, would you want to face them in the final? Yes. We're at Wembley.
Then we've been to Wembley, yeah.
Final win.
Oh,
it's like we get so close to the prize, and then we're not going to get the prize.
I love that we're all just so like rattled by the power of City, man.
Fuming.
No, honestly, like I was actually angry. Like my mate, like my City mate, like DM'd me saying that, like, oh, Vincent Kompany's going back. It's like, fuck off. Genuinely, I was fuming. I was like, because that's all it's going to be. The City fans, they're happy. Oh, the Kompany captain's going back. I don't care. I want to go to Wembley, bro. And they're going to have some very happy-go-lucky Disney film sort of like storyline with BBC on the TV. And it's like, I'm just there fuming because we may lose 4-0 this time and not 5-0.
It's like the kid at school that nicks your lunch money. It's like, I was really looking forward to lunch, and now you've ruined it.
I saw a great analogy on Twitter. Somebody put something like, it's going to feel like City fans are putting their dog down when they beat Burnley in the quarterfinal of the Cup, because obviously they're beating Kompany. That was brilliant, that.
Oh, man. Speaking of City then, in terms of, I want to highlight some quotes here from Pep Guardiola in terms of his recent presser about Vincent Kompany in the recent, soon-to-be FA Cup game against Man City. From Pep Guardiola himself on the fact that Kompany is going back to City, he said his destiny to become Man City manager is already written at the start. It's going to happen. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. And that is from Pep Guardiola. Now, I want to kind of speak a topic here in terms of our thoughts on kind of where do we stand by Kompany's plan with the Burnley project? Like, how can you see, because he's doing so well, obviously, he's going to get so much attention from so many teams across world football, up in the Prem, whoever, right? And there will be, at any point in the summer or next year, there will be interest, right? Do you see him being smart enough to kind of turn it down? Maybe just continue with like a 3-year plan. I believe that when he joined, he signed a 4 to 5 year long contract, quite a long contract as well. That should keep him signed down. But we all know how contracts work in football. Most of the time they mean nothing. I'll go to you first, John. Where do you stand by the Kompany project in terms of how can you see it potentially ending or continuing onwards?
Well, so far it's been a bit of a fairy tale, hasn't it? So I can only imagine it's going to carry on going that way. I can't see it ending in a similar fashion to the Owen Coyle thing, where he texts us up, we start feeling next year, and he jumps ship as soon as possible. I think I said it on your podcast a few weeks ago, Liam, that Kompany can now look at Gerrard and Lampard and the position that they're in. They went for the bigger jobs too early in their careers. Lampard didn't deserve the Chelsea job when he took it. He'd done an average job at Derby, and Gerrard probably deserved the Villa job a bit more. I probably did deserve it, to be fair, but again, it didn't really work out. So if I were Kompany, I'd stay at Burnley until you've achieved something like of note, and you've done something like really, really good, you've done something brilliant, and then leave when the time is right. I think the thing is, I think he's an intelligent man, his Kompany. I think he will know when the time is right to leave. Some managers stay too long and then it becomes sour. Look at Sean Dyche. That's pretty much what happened. I think he not outstayed his welcome because we all still loved him, but it was the same man saying the same words to the same ears over and over again. It just becomes tiresome. I don't think Kompany will let that happen. I do think he'll leave when the time is right, but the time has to be right for him personally as well, not just for the club. So it's weird. I do think he'll become City manager. I think pretty much everybody can say that will happen because it's looking like he's going to be a good manager. So he will be at that level. But I think, is it going to get to a point where he needs to do a stepping stone to the City job? like a medium-sized club to then City, or is he going to stay at Burnley and then go to City? But he'd have to achieve quite a bit at Burnley, I think, for him to go with enough experience to do well as City manager. I think he will do well in his career. I think he's got a very high ceiling, and I think he becomes a City manager one day. I think he becomes a Belgium national manager one day. I think he can achieve a lot, but he's got to make the right moves at the right times as well.
Yeah, and I don't like to think that I know Vincent Kompany, because I don't. None of us do really, but you like to think that we do. I like to think that he's a person with morals, in terms of kind of sort of morals, in terms of how you, I guess, interact in football and how you come across. And I think he's the type of manager to not leave halfway through a year. And that when he does leave, it become kind of obvious that at the end of the year, before pre-season and that's when he makes his next move. Similar to what he did with Anderlecht. End of the year, everyone at Anderlecht knew that he'd be going. He had interest from us, interest from, I believe, Borussia Mönchengladbach as well, Wolfsburg, and of course he came to us. And that was all accepted. They all kind of knew that. So I think what may happen is that I think we'll go up. I think we'll stay up next year. And I think that third year, we'll kick on, be mid-table. I generally believe that. And I think at that stage, I think it may be the end of the third year. That's what I think. And I think it'd be a stepping stone club up next. I don't think it'd be City. That's just kind of me trying to be a realist, thinking what I think may happen. Because, of course, we love VK. We love Vinny. We want him to be at Burnley for as long as possible. We want him to take us to Europe and just continue this. And as I said before, if the worst does come and he does leave, I do have hope in Alan Pace and AOK that they will replace him very well, because they seem like they've got a very good grasp on what they want as the identity and the culture of the club. So I believe that we are in good hands that way. And again, this is 2-3 years down the line, so we're looking very far ahead in terms of what may happen. So not much to really worry about, but that's what I think may happen. Because it does seem very much obvious that Kompany will have a lot of interest, and we may be hearing this back and forth for the next year or two. I don't think anything will come out of it, but it will be in the news a bit. Sam, where do you kind of place yourself in terms of Vincent Kompany?
He's a brilliant manager. Come to Burnley at the right time for not only himself a little bit, but for us fans. We were in dire need of a revamp, of a new feeling within the club. I feel like we've had a couple of years towards the end where we haven't had too much positive to shout about, whereas now, we're flying high in the Championship. He's done really, really well. And like you said, there is going to be absolutely a lot of interest in him. He's a young manager, especially. I mean, you saw, like you said, Joe, Lampard got, the Chelsea job off the back of, in my opinion, a complete failure with Derby. He spent the most money I've ever, or a lot of money in the Championship, paid people ridiculous wages like, Tomori and Mason Mount to be in the Championship and didn't get them promoted. So I think the 2-3 year plan is probably something that we'll see. I don't think that we will be in the same situation like when we've had Dyche in the past, where a manager stays for so long. And you almost, wake up every day and Dyche is your manager. And then all of a sudden when that, that bomb dropped on us one day that Dyche had been sacked, it was crazy. I think when this happens, it'll be a case of, okay, fair enough. Like, once he's gone, you say, thank you very much. You've been incredible. And I agree with you. AOK and Alan Pace have done everything right by us so far. I trust that they'll make the right decision in appointing a new manager. But again, we're all talking about like it's happened. Like, the right now he's still the manager, and I'm still living a fairy tale season, having an absolutely great time in Championship. We're looking dead search for promotion, and rather than looking at that kind of, or eventually it'll happen, because I have seen the whole thing from Pep saying that it's destined to happen and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's not scripted. He's not destined, to be the Man City manager. He could very easily make his next stepstone to Aston Villa and it not work out there, and then the City job gets further and further away. Yeah. I think I'm just looking forward to having Vincent Kompany and his scouting network and his assistants and all these going into the Premier League next season and seeing who we can turn over in comparison to what we've seen before, bringing in new players. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Just to go back there, what you mentioned about morals as well, Liam, it's a good point because I read a German journalist a couple of months ago talking about that after Vincent Kompany had only a verbal agreement with Burnley, so he hadn't signed anything, just a verbal agreement that he would become the manager. Borussia Mönchengladbach rang him up and said, we want to offer you the job. You want to come in and have a chat about it? And he said, well, no, because I've already given Burnley my word. So that is a man of morals would say yes. A man without any morals would be like, well, I'll go and see what they said. I've not signed anything. Somebody like Owen Coyle had gone for that gig there and then, but thankfully, thankfully, like you said, he's a man of morals, and I think that matches that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, into the City, we will, of course, go to Etihad, no matter what happens, as you'd expect. I think they give us, what's allocation for the cup? I think it's like, is it like 8K or something?
It's something crazy, isn't it?
When we went in 17-18, I think we had like 8K sold. So it'd be a big away day that. And we will sell out 8K, for the chance of Wembley. No matter how many times we got slapped up 5-0, we're going to keep going back again for more. And hopefully only lose by 4. And I'll take that as a win. So we're going to move on from that. Let's crack on to the preview for the game for tomorrow, which I swear it feels like we played yesterday. Like I love the championship because it feels like there's just so much going on all the time. There's a game on every 3 days. It's great. As I said earlier, I was speaking to a friend of mine who's a Blackpool fan. He thinks that we're going to do them in 6-0, which terrifies me because every single team that says when I start them up, we always make it look hard. Fleetwood, for example, we did that the hard way. So I'll go to you first, Joe. Preview for the Blackpool game. Just kind of, are you? I don't know. Do you think we're going to just do a casual 3-0 on them, or do you think it'd be a bit more tougher than some fans think?
I don't know. I think it can go one or two ways. I work with a Blackpool fan who's backed Burnley to score more than 2.5 goals, so he's not confident. I spoke to a Blackpool fan on my podcast. He weren't confident. He said, yeah, again, off air, he was saying, it could be 5 or 6, mate. But then on air, he's like, 2-1 to you. So it is what it is. There's a pressure on teams at home. I don't think they'll do a Fleetwood because you can't. I for one, would be fuming if Burnley set up at home with just 2 banks of 8. I know people will point back to the Dash days and say we did that pretty much every time, but it were a little bit more. It weren't that simple, really. We did have a plan. Whereas Fleetwood, they just came to try and sit back and, like I said, 2 banks of 8. Blackpool won't play that way. I think eventually, if they do set up that way at first, they'll eventually get enticed out by the crowd or the fact that there's a bit of pressure on them having to play somewhere at home. And then if that happens, I just think we'll pick them off. I do think we are too strong for them. It might not necessarily be 3-0. Obviously, I'll take 1-0. 3 points is 3 points. But I do think we'll win. I think we're too good for them. I think I predicted 2-0 on my show, so I'll go with that.
Yeah, and to add some stats to it, in terms of the league of home teams, Blackpool has the second worst home record in the entire league. They've won only 1 game in the last 17, and that being a 1-0 win at home to Stoke City. Mick McCarthy, in his presser after the recent game against Reading, when a journal said to him, 1 win in 17, it can't get any worse. Mick McCarthy kind of scuffed and just kind of said, it can, which I love, to be fair, because they got us up next. Sam, are you hopeful again?
We're just we're a really, really, really good team. And from the start of the season, from where we were at the start of the season to where we are now is absolutely ridiculous. Like at the start of the season, you were wondering in games, and ahhing. Literally now we're having a conversation about how many goals we could score against teams. It's absolutely embarrassingly ridiculous. Like we are leaps and bounds above them player-wise, leaps and bounds above them managerial-wise, tactics-wise. We're a million miles ahead of them. Like the only thing that worries me is obviously that they can rise to the occasion, but I don't think they will. I do think we'll get like a 3-1. I think it'll be quite a comfortable 3-1. I think they'll get a consolation goal like towards the end. I think we've got too much going forward. I agree, absolutely put perfectly. I think they cannot afford to sit in banks of 4. They just can't afford to. The precarious position that they're in, they're teetering on the edge of being, relegated by the end of March. Like, they're in a really, really tough spot. So they physically can't afford to sit back. And we seem to be able to when teams do that in some areas. Obviously, there is like the Fleetwood game that is a bit a bit different. But normally, eventually, with the way that we play, we pass the ball around so much, people chase us. That's probably why we score so many late goals, because by the end of the game, they're all knackered and we can just kind of pass, tap it in back at net. So for me, I think we're quite comfortably win 3-1.
Looking at the chat, we got a Blackpool fan in Matthew Warrender saying, Blackpool fan here, we will put the bus for 90 minutes and you'll beat us 4-0. So he's got great hope for the game. And also saying that Mick McCarthy football is boring. Yeah, the way that I see this game, the fact they are, second bottom, they're 4 games cut adrift from the relegation spots of Cardiff, then they need to win. They can't just hope for the best and hope that draws enough. They're going to have to go for it at some stage. If it's in the second half, they're going to have to. And I think that will be a big factor. I think they're going to try and keep it tight for the first half, essentially. Hope for the best. Maybe it may work. No, half time. But I think in the end, the quality and the cream will rise to the top. That's kind of how I see the game. In terms of the league, just kind of in terms of just how we see the season, are you even looking at Sheffield United and looking at the fixtures, or do you not care anymore?
I generally don't care anymore. I got a bit of stick this week on Twitter because somebody put the question out there. I think he tagged all us 3 in it and said, Blackburn versus Sheffield United this weekend. Who do you want to win? And everyone's like, oh, Blackburn, so they can do us a favour. I'm like, I'm not looking at Sheffield United anymore. Like, well, I think we beat Blackpool, so we're fine there. They're not going, even if they win, they're not going to catch up any points on us. But then someone come, which I thought fair enough, but I'm still not worried about them. Someone came with the point and said, well, if they win their game in hand and they beat us, that's then down to 6 points. But that's if he'd have said it's down to 2 points, I'd have been like, oh yeah, fair enough. But at 6 points, that's still a ridiculously massive gap for a team that's only lost twice all season with a far superior goal difference. So I'm not looking at Sheffield United anymore. Maybe ever so slightly might check their results, hoping that they get beat, apart from this weekend. But yeah, definitely not looking at Middlesbrough. I'm just so confident in the team right now. I think the promotion's definitely ours. I'm 99% certain that the championship's ours. I just can't see us losing the amount of games that we need to lose between now and the end of the season to mess it up. And that's if Sheffield United win every game between now and the end of the season, and they're not playing that well at all. So I can't see that happening either. Yeah,
it seems a matter of when, not if, at the stage.
Yeah, exactly.
On a regular kind of feature, I always say in my pods, in terms of the supercomputer, 538.com, they have us 99.6% likely to get promoted. So, well, hey, boys, we could almost fuck that up. And then to win the championship is 94%. So, it's still tight. It's just ludicrous, isn't it? Like, it's the 3rd of March and we're 94% to win the league. I am kind of partially still looking at Sheffield United because I kind of have to, because it depends on how quickly we want to win a title. It doesn't really matter in terms of winning it at Eadwood, because I think that by then it'd be too late. We'd be already winning it at that stage. It's just, I don't know. I think the only thing we really have to still kind of go for us is to potentially go on and crack the 106 record. So I'll end it off with this for your scoreline prediction and goal scorer for the game tomorrow.
I've already said 2-0. So who's playing? I normally like to back an ass, but I'm not sure who we're playing. Teller, I think Teller will score. And Barnes, will probably start up top, Warner. So I'll go 2-0, Teller and Barnes.
Okay. So you're going for 2-0, not 3-0 this time?
No, I said, yeah. Did I say it? That's 2-0. Sorry, yeah, 2-0.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam?
I said 3-1, and I think his goal scorer is going to be Nathan Teller, Bayer, and Michael Obafemi. What a guy. Great player.
Bayer with a header?
Bayer with a bicycle kick.
Bicycle kick. Right.
I mean, that's the next one, isn't it? So what minute are we scoring? How are we scoring? What's your score and who's scoring it?
Yeah, literally. If you get all them right, you're a bookie. Tell us what it is.
We're going to go for a Muric goal. The best CDM in the league, obviously.
Real.
Just pig it in from halfway line. There you go. I guess I want to give some respect to Blackpool, but I mean, I want to, but the amount of Blackpool fans, as we've seen in this chat alone, they have no hope. So might as well just go for it. Again, I'll say 3-0. 3-0. Actually, a 3-1. We seem to always concede again. I'll go for 3-1 with Sam. And I'll go for Teller with a brace and then I'll go for like a field goal for midfield. I say Brownhill. I think this is a Brownhill game to score a goal, actually. So I say Brownhill and Teller with 2. Lads, absolute pleasure. Thank you, lads, for coming on. I can't believe how good this is, really. Like, when we got relegated, did you see this coming? I didn't. I didn't see it going this way.
I thought we'd do relatively well in this league. Maybe, like, I was thinking, 5th or 6th, something like that. We'll be there or thereabouts. Never expected us to just literally steamroll everyone in our way. It's just been sensational. It's been sensational. And we just enjoy it while it happens, because next season is going to be a lot different. Even if we do well next season, which I think we will, I think we'll stay up. It's still going to be different. We might win like 8 games all season, something like that, which isn't horrendous in the Premier League. You can stay up by winning 8 games. It's so just enjoy it. It's one of them. Like, I think it's my favorite ever season following Burnley, and I'm 35-year-old. So enjoy it, because like you said, it's not going to last forever.
Look at fixtures as well. Look at who we've already played twice. We've played the majority of teams in the playoffs and just outside the playoffs already twice. For the rest of the season, we're playing like QPR. We've got Blackburn, who are obviously like the only team in playoffs, but they're not really in the playoffs, are they? Because they're absolutely shite. Like you've got we're playing Wigan, we've got Rotherham, we've got all these teams that are still down there, still to play. This is why I think we'll go on to win the championship. Like, promotion's almost dead certain, but I genuinely think that championship title is the only thing that, if we weren't to get it, could be the thing that would go. It was amazing and it was great, but there was a bit of a drop off towards the end. But,
Sam, we're 94% likely. We've won the league. Yeah, come on.
Yeah. The supercomputers have told us.
Yeah, let's not take the piss here. Come on, I
saw something that the Second Tier Pod put out.
I was going to say
today or yesterday, and we have the 5th easiest running in terms of average league position. Because, like you said, we've still got all these teams to play. It'll get a little bit harder after the next 2, because next 2 are Blackpool and Wigan, so that average will go up. But yeah, like you said, we've got Blackburn, Sheffield United, and Middlesbrough to play. That's it. They're the only difficult team. Sunderland, maybe you could argue that they're quite difficult, but they're a bit hit and miss. But everyone else, yeah, we've got the 5th easiest running in the league. So yeah, it's nailed on. Let's be honest, it's nailed on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then we can lift the title properly this time, hopefully. Yeah. Again, to end off the chat, 4-0 from Tinger, Barnes, Abafemi, Teller Brace, and 2-0 win from Pro as well. Thank you, boys, for coming on. And
thanks for asking us, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Joel, where can the great people of Burnley find you?
So if you want to listen to me podcast or watch the YouTube shows, it's Turfcast Podcast on all your socials. The pre-game show is already out. I will be doing a full-time show tomorrow. I'm bringing it a day earlier for the full-time show, because it's my little boy's birthday on Sunday, so I won't have time to do it on Sunday. But yeah, Turfcast Podcast on all your socials.
I wish your boy the best for Sunday, hopefully with the 3 points.
Thank you, mate.
And Sam, where can the great people of Burnley find you?
Yeah, it's the Clarets Roundup page on Twitter. Come over and have a chat. I'll be on with tomorrow as well. I'll be on with Turfcast tomorrow, so I'm everywhere. I'm all over.
He loves a chat.
He's worldwide, Mr. Worldwide over here. Let's go. Well, if you guys have just joined us, then the podcast, the live stream will be turned into a full video straight away. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you very much for listening, and make sure to drop a follow or to also subscribe if you are on YouTube. Thank you all so much for the support, and we'll see you very soon on the Longside. See ya.